The massive warship hung in space like a steel mountain against the stars. Its hull stretched for miles, bristling with weapons that could turn entire planets to ash. This was the flagship of the Galactic Empire, a symbol of power that had crushed 1,000 civilizations beneath its iron heel. Commander Zekthar stood on the bridge, his 4 arms crossed behind his scaled back. His reptilian eyes swept across the tactical displays showing the latest conquest. Another world had fallen. Another species had been added to the Empire's collection of slaves. The humans of Earth were just the latest in a long line of victories. "Commander," his lieutenant hissed through rows of sharp teeth, "the human prisoners have been loaded into the detention blocks. Shall we begin the standard processing?" Zekthar's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. "Yes, break their spirits first. The Empire needs workers, not warriors." He turned to face the view screen showing Earth, now surrounded by Imperial destroyers. "These humans put up more fight than expected. 3 of our assault ships were damaged before we overwhelmed their defenses." "Sir," another officer called out, his voice tight with concern, "we're detecting an anomaly in Sector 7 of the ship. Internal sensors show nothing, but maintenance reports a crew member missing from that area." The commander's crest rose slightly, a sign of mild interest. "Missing? On a sealed warship? Send a security team to investigate. Probably just a sensor malfunction." 20 minutes passed. The security team didn't report back. "Sir," the communications officer's voice cracked, "the security team—" "They're not responding." Zekthar's eyes narrowed. "Send 2 more teams, full combat gear. I want answers." The bridge fell into tense silence as they waited. The massive displays showed the ship's internal layout, with moving dots representing the search teams. They watched as the dots moved through corridor after corridor, approaching Sector 7. Then the dots stopped moving. One by one, they simply vanished from the display. "What in the void is happening?" Zekthar snarled. "Lock down that entire section. Send in the automated drones." The drones lasted exactly 4 minutes before their signals cut out. A new voice suddenly filled the bridge. It was calm, almost conversational, speaking through the ship's own communication system. The voice was human. "Commander Zekthar, you should know that your empire was already doomed the moment you attacked Earth. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm what my people call a sniper, and I'm here to deliver a message." The bridge erupted in chaos. Officers scrambled to trace the signal, to locate the intruder. Zekthar roared for silence. "Human, you dare threaten the Galactic Empire? You're one man on a ship with 50,000 warriors." "Correction," the voice replied with what sounded like amusement. "I'm one human sniper on a ship with 50,000 targets. Let me explain something about human snipers, Commander. We don't just shoot. We hunt. We wait. We study our prey until we know it better than it knows itself." The lights on the bridge flickered. When they came back on, there was a small object sitting on Zekthar's command console. A single bullet, still warm. "That round was fired from 2 miles away through your ship's ventilation system. It traveled through 17 direction changes and 3 fan blades to land exactly where I wanted it. Your security teams? They're alive, but they'll wake up with terrible headaches and no memory of what happened. I could have killed them. I chose not to." Zekthar stared at the bullet, his scaled skin paling. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand what you've done," Marcus continued. "You see, humans have a saying, 'Mess with the best, die like the rest.' But that's not quite accurate in this case. You didn't just mess with the best. You messed with a species that turned warfare into art, hunting into science, and patience into a weapon." An alarm blared. The ship's armory had been breached. Weapons were missing, lots of them. "Every human sniper," Marcus explained as chaos erupted around the bridge, "learns 3 fundamental truths. First, one shot can change everything. Second, the best position is the one your enemy never expects. Third, and most important, we never work alone." More alarms. Security stations across the ship reported missing personnel, disabled systems, and ghost sightings of figures that vanished the moment anyone looked directly at them. "You captured 10,000 humans," Marcus said. "Did you really think none of us would be military? That none of us would be special forces? That none of us would be snipers?" The main lights cut out completely. Emergency lighting bathed everything in red. In that crimson glow, Zekathar saw something that made his heart freeze. On every screen, on every display, the same message appeared: "I'll kill you all." Then, more text scrolled beneath it. "But not today. Today, I'm teaching you fear." Explosions rocked the ship, not deadly ones, just enough to cripple weapons systems, disable engines, and knock out long-range communications. The mighty warship, pride of the Galactic Empire, was being systematically dismantled from within. "Your empire has conquered species through fear and overwhelming force," Marcus said. "You've never faced humans before. We're different. We don't just fight back. We get creative. We get patient. We get even." Zekathar rushed to the tactical display. Half the ship's systems were offline. Worse, similar reports were coming in from other vessels in the fleet. Whatever was happening here was happening everywhere. "Impossible," he breathed. "The prisoners are in locked cells. They have no weapons, no communication." "Commander, you're thinking like a conqueror, not a survivor. Humans are weapons. Our minds, our hands, our will to resist. These are things you can't confiscate. As for communication," the voice paused. "Who said we needed technology to coordinate?" A new alarm. The detention blocks had been opened. All of them. 10,000 human prisoners were now loose aboard the ship. "I've studied your empire," Marcus continued. 137 species conquered. Each one fell because they fought the way you expected them to fight. They used tactics you understood. They played by rules you could counter. Humans don't do that. Through the chaos, reports filtered in. Human prisoners weren't trying to escape. They weren't attacking randomly. They were taking apart the ship piece by piece, targeting specific systems with surgical precision. Engineers were sabotaging power conduits. Doctors were introducing compounds into the air systems that made the crew drowsy and confused. Even civilians were contributing, using improvised tools to jam doors and disrupt electronics. "Your empire," Marcus said, "is like your ship. Big, powerful, impressive. But empires, like ships, have weak points. And humans? We are very, very good at finding weak points." Zekathar slammed his fist on the console. "What are your demands? What will it take to stop this?" "Stop? Oh, Commander. This isn't a negotiation. This is a promise. You attacked Earth. You killed our people. You took us from our homes. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences?" The artificial gravity flickered, sending unsecured objects floating. The life support systems groaned and protested. The mighty warship was dying from within, killed not by massive weapons, but by 10,000 paper cuts. "Here's what's going to happen," Marcus said. "Your fleet is going to limp back to your empire. You're going to tell them what happened here. You're going to explain that humans don't surrender. We don't break. We adapt. We survive, and we win. Always." "The Empire will send more ships," Zekathar roared. "Bigger fleets. You've doomed your entire species." "Have we?" The voice carried a cold amusement. "Tell me, Commander, how long did your empire spend planning the invasion of Earth?" 5 cycles, Zekathar admitted through gritted teeth. 5 of your years. In that time, you studied our defenses, our weapons, our tactics. You thought you understood us, but you made one critical error. You studied our technology, not our history. If you had, you'd have known that humans have been perfecting the art of war for thousands of years. We've turned killing into science and survival into instinct. The ship lurched. Main engines had failed completely. They were dead in space. "Your empire spans half the galaxy," Marcus continued. "Impressive. But here's a human history lesson for you. We once had an empire that spanned half our world. It was called Rome. It fell. We had another that claimed the sun never set on it. Britain. It fell too. Empires always fall, Commander. The only question is how long they take and how many they drag down with them. Through the bridge windows, Zekthar could see escape pods launching from his other ships. The humans had somehow spread to the entire fleet. How was this possible? You're wondering how we did it, Marcus said, reading his thoughts. How humans with no weapons, no ships, no apparent coordination could cripple the mighty Galactic Empire's invasion fleet. The answer is simple. We didn't need any of those things. We had something better. What? Zekthar demanded. Purpose. Every human on these ships knows exactly why they're fighting. We're not conquering for glory or enslaving for profit. We're surviving. We're protecting our home. We're ensuring our children have a future. That kind of motivation makes people capable of extraordinary things. A tactical officer stumbled to Zekthar's side. Commander, I've been analyzing the patterns. The humans, they're not acting randomly. Every sabotage, every attack, it's all coordinated. They're using some kind of communication we can't detect or jam. Marcus chuckled. Your officer is half right. We are coordinating. But it's not through any communication system. It's through training. Every human military member learns the same basic principles. When isolated, when without orders, when facing overwhelming odds, we all know what to do. We don't need to talk to each other because we already know what the others will do. The emergency lighting flickered and died. For a moment, the bridge was in total darkness. When minimal lighting returned, every screen showed the same thing. Earth, blue and white and beautiful, with text overlaid. You came for our world, we came for your empire. This is just the beginning, Marcus said. Every ship you send to Earth will suffer the same fate. Every soldier who sets foot on our soil will face not just our military, but every man, woman, and child willing to fight. We will resist with weapons when we have them, and with our bare hands when we don't. We will fight in our cities and in our countryside, in daylight and darkness, in victory and seeming defeat. The commander's personal guard rushed onto the bridge. Sir, the humans have taken the engineering section. They're not destroying it. They're studying it. They're learning how our technology works. A chill ran down Zekthar's spine. If humans acquired Imperial technology... Ah, Marcus said. Your guard figured it out. Yes, we're learning. Every system we disable, we study first. Every weapon we capture, we memorize. Your empire gave us the greatest gift possible. You brought your advanced technology right to us. How generous. You're insane, Zekthar whispered. The Empire will crush Earth. One setback means nothing. One setback? Marcus laughed. Commander, check your long-range sensors. Check them very carefully. With trembling claws, Zekthar pulled up the sensor data. What he saw made him stagger. It wasn't just his fleet. Dozens of Imperial fleets across the galaxy were reporting similar problems. Somehow, impossibly, humans had spread throughout the Empire's military structure. How? He breathed. Did you think Earth was the first world you conquered with humans on it? We've been spreading through the galaxy for decades. Colonists, explorers, traders, humans are everywhere. And we talk to each other. We share information. When you attacked Earth, every human in the galaxy heard about it. And they all decided to do something about it. The implications hit Zekthar like a physical blow. The Empire had humans on thousands of worlds, working in factories, serving on ships, integrated into countless systems. If they all turned hostile... Now you understand, Marcus said softly. Your empire was doomed the moment you decided humans were just another species to conquer. We're not. We're the species that conquered our own planet so thoroughly we got bored and started looking for new challenges. You just volunteered to be that challenge. Please, Zekthar said, the word tasting like ash. What do you want? I told you. This isn't a negotiation, but I'll give you one chance. Take your broken fleet back to your empire. Tell them what happened. Tell them that humans offer two choices. Leave us alone, and we'll leave you alone, or continue this war and watch your empire burn from within. We won't invade your worlds or enslave your people. We're not conquerors. But touch Earth again, harm another human, and we'll show you why our species survived everything our own planet threw at us. The lights came back on fully. The ship's systems began responding again, but the damage was done. Weapons were destroyed, engines crippled, and worst of all, the crew's confidence was shattered. You have 1 hour to begin your withdrawal, Marcus said. After that, well, I did promise to kill you all. I'm a man of my word. Wait, Zekthar called out. Where are you? Show yourself. I'm everywhere and nowhere, Commander. I'm the shadow in your peripheral vision, the sound you can't quite identify, the threat you'll never see coming. I'm a human sniper, and I just declared open season on your empire. The communication cut out. In its place, a countdown timer appeared on the main screen. 59 minutes and counting down. Zekthar looked around his bridge at his terrified crew. The finest warriors in the Galactic Empire, reduced to jumping at shadows by a single human voice. No, he corrected himself, not by a voice. By the knowledge that humans were among them, invisible, patient, and lethally creative. Set course for Imperial Center, he ordered, his voice hollow. Maximum speed on whatever engines still function. Sir? His lieutenant asked. We're retreating? We're surviving, Zekthar corrected. And we're carrying a message. The Empire needs to know what we're truly facing. He looked at the bullet still sitting on his console. They need to know that humans don't just fight, they hunt. As the crippled fleet began its limping journey home, Zekthar couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Somewhere on his ship, or perhaps on many ships, human snipers waited and watched. They had made their point. The Galactic Empire, master of 1,000 systems, had just learned what Earth's children had known for millennia. Humans were the apex predators of persistence, patience, and payback. The Imperial Center was a planet-sized city, layers upon layers of gleaming metal and glass reaching into the sky. At its heart stood the Spire of Dominion, where the Eternal Council ruled over their vast empire. Today, that council faced something they had never encountered in their 1,000-year reign: fear. Counselor Vexana watched the holographic recordings for the third time. Her 6 eyes blinked in sequence as she processed what she was seeing. The mighty 7th Fleet, pride of the Empire, limping home with half their ships barely functioning, not destroyed by massive weapons or overwhelming force, but crippled from within by prisoners, by humans. This is unacceptable, growled Counselor Thockham, his massive form causing the floor to vibrate with each word. One species cannot threaten the stability of our entire empire. And yet, Vexana replied coolly, the evidence suggests otherwise. In the 3 weeks since the 7th Fleet's return, we've received similar reports from 43 sectors. Human workers disappearing from factories, then those factories suffering mysterious accidents, human traders vanishing from space stations, followed by critical system failures. Even human slaves in the mining colonies have begun resisting. Then we crush them. Thockham slammed a meaty fist on the table. Send the entire Imperial Navy. Burn their world to glass. With what ships? Asked Counselor Zephyr, his crystalline form chiming softly. Half our fleet is undergoing repairs from human sabotage. The other half refuses to take human prisoners aboard, which means they can't process conquered populations. Our entire military doctrine has been compromised by the fear of infiltration. The door to the council chamber opened, and a figure entered that made them all fall silent. Admiral Kress, supreme commander of all Imperial forces, had returned from his inspection of the fleets. His usually proud bearing was diminished, his 4 arms hanging loose at his sides. "Report," Vexana commanded. Cress straightened slightly. "The situation is worse than we thought. It's not just sabotage anymore. The humans are teaching others." "Teaching?" Thakkum scoffed. "Teaching what?" "Resistance," Cress replied simply. "On Kepler Station, human dock workers showed the Volanti slaves how to create explosives from cleaning supplies. On the prison world of Karact, human inmates taught other species something they call guerrilla warfare, small groups striking quickly and disappearing, making our forces afraid to patrol. Most disturbing of all," he paused, clearly reluctant to continue. "Speak," Vexana ordered. "3 of our client species have formally withdrawn from the Empire. When asked why, they all gave the same answer. The humans showed us we had a choice." The council chamber erupted in arguments and accusations. Vexana raised a hand for silence, then activated a private communication channel she had hoped never to use. A face appeared on her personal screen, old, scarred, but with eyes that held terrible wisdom. "War Master Xerxes," she said quietly, "the council requires your expertise." The ancient warrior studied her through the screen. Xerxes was a legend, the strategist who had crushed the last great rebellion against the Empire 500 years ago. He had been in voluntary retirement ever since, claiming he had seen enough death. "You want me to fight the humans," he said. It wasn't a question. "We want you to end this threat to imperial stability." Xerxes laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "I've been watching the reports, studying their tactics. You don't want me, counselor. You want a miracle." "You've never lost a war." "I've never fought humans." He leaned forward. "But I've studied them. For the past 3 weeks, I've done nothing but analyze their history, their psychology, their methods. Do you want to know what I've learned?" Vexana nodded slowly. "Humans don't lose wars. They might lose battles, even campaigns. Their cities might burn and their people might die. But they don't lose wars. They just keep fighting until the other side can't anymore." He pulled up a holographic display. "Look at their history. They fought a war for 100 years once. 100 years. Most species can't maintain hostility for 100 days, but humans pass down their anger through generations like a family heirloom. Surely their technology is inferior?" "Irrelevant," Xerxes cut her off. "When humans fought each other with stones, they sharpened the stones. When they had metal, they made swords. When they had chemicals, they made explosives. Give a human a rock and tell him his family is in danger, and he'll find a way to bring down a battleship with it." "Then what do you suggest?" Xerxes was quiet for a long moment. "Make peace." "What?" Thakkum's roar could be heard even through Vexana's private channel. "The Empire does not make peace with lesser species." "Lesser?" Xerxes laughed again. "Counselor, in 3 weeks, humans have done more damage to your empire than the last 10 conquered species combined. And they're just getting started. This Marcus Chen, the one who calls himself a sniper, he's become a legend. Dozens of confirmed kills across the galaxy, each one an imperial officer or official. He appears, strikes, and vanishes. Worse, he's not alone. They call themselves the Ghost Brigade now. Human special forces scattered across your empire, teaching, fighting, inspiring rebellion." As if summoned by his words, alarms began blaring throughout the Imperial Center. Vexana's personal guard burst into the chamber. "Counselor, there's been an attack. The primary food distribution center has been destroyed." "Destroyed?" Vexana stood. "By what force?" "That's just it, Counselor. There was no force. Someone introduced a chemical compound into the preservation systems. 3 months of food supplies for the entire planet. Contaminated. Initial analysis suggests the compound is derived from a common earth plant called capsaicin." Xerxes laughed so hard he nearly fell from his chair. They seasoned your food supplies. Brilliant. Your species can't tolerate spicy food, can you? 3 months of supplies. Too hot for you to eat, but perfectly safe for humans. They've just created a famine on your capital world using pepper spray. More alarms. More reports flooding in. The Empire's central banking system had been infiltrated, not destroyed. That would have been simple to fix. Instead, tiny errors had been introduced into every transaction. Fractions of credits disappearing, interest rates randomly fluctuating. The economic chaos would take years to fully untangle. How? Thackum demanded. Our security is absolute. Your security was designed to stop armies, Xerxes explained patiently. Not individuals, not guerrillas, not humans who've spent their entire evolutionary history learning to be clever instead of strong. He pulled up more data. Do you know what human children play? Games about hiding, seeking, and outsmarting each other. Their entertainment involves puzzles and mysteries. They tell stories about weak heroes defeating strong villains through intelligence. Their entire culture is built around the idea that smart beats strong. A new figure appeared on the main screen. Marcus Chen himself, though his face was shadowed and his location impossible to determine. Counselors of the Galactic Empire, he said calmly. I thought it was time we spoke directly. Kill him! Thackum roared. Trace that signal! You can try, Marcus said. But this signal is being bounced through 17 different systems, including 3 of your own military networks. By the time you trace it, I'll be long gone. He leaned forward slightly. I warned your commander. I told him your empire was already doomed. He didn't believe me. Do you? What do you want, human? Vexana asked, fighting to keep her voice steady. I want you to understand something. Every day you continue this war, we grow stronger. Every ship you send against us becomes a classroom where we learn your technology. Every soldier you deploy becomes a teacher who shows us your tactics. Every victory you achieve becomes a lesson in how to defeat you better next time. The lights in the council chamber flickered. When they steadied, a message was painted on the wall in what looked like luminescent paint. We are everywhere. That's impossible, Zephyr chimed. This is the most secure facility in the Empire. Was, Marcus corrected. Past tense. Your security is designed to keep out armies, not individuals. Certainly not humans who've had 3 weeks to study your defenses. He paused. Oh, and Counselor Thackum, you might want to check your personal quarters. I left you a gift. Thackum's eyes widened in rage and fear. He stormed out, returning moments later holding a small device. A human computer tablet, Marcus explained, loaded with something we call the Art of War, by Sun Tzu, Ancient Human Military Philosophy. I particularly recommend the chapter on winning without fighting. You might find it enlightening. Enough, Vexana stood. You've made your point. What are your terms? Terms? Marcus sounded genuinely surprised. We're not negotiating, Counselor. We're educating. Every act of sabotage, every moment of resistance, every small victory. They're all lessons. We're teaching your empire that humans are not worth the cost of conquest. Xerxes leaned into his communicator. He's right, you know. I've run the projections. At the current rate of sabotage and rebellion, your empire will face complete economic collapse within 2 years. Maybe less if other species join the resistance. Which they will, Marcus added. We're very good teachers, and oppressed people are eager students. Another alarm. This time from the Imperial Fleet yards. 3 battleships under construction had been destroyed, not by explosives or weapons fire, but by simple reprogramming of the construction bots. Months of work undone in minutes. Here's what puzzles me, Marcus continued conversationally. Your empire conquers through fear, but fear only works when people believe they have no choice. Humans don't just resist. We show others that resistance is possible. We're not conquering your empire. We're giving it permission to fall apart. Arrogant creature, Thackum snarled. We will exterminate your entire species." "With what?" Marcus asked simply. "Your fleets that are afraid to take human prisoners? Your ground forces that jump at shadows? Your economy that's bleeding credits? Your subject species that are learning rebellion? Face it, counselor. You broke the cardinal rule of warfare. You attacked an enemy you didn't understand." Vexana felt something she had never experienced before. Doubt. The Empire had stood for 1,000 years. It had crushed every threat, absorbed every enemy. But those enemies had fought conventionally. They had met strength with strength. Humans met strength with cleverness, force with patience, and conquest with corruption. "What would it take?" she asked finally. "What would it take for this to end?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried a weight that made even the counselors lean in. Complete withdrawal from human space. Recognition of Earth's sovereignty and the sovereignty of all human colonies. Release of all human prisoners and slaves. Reparations for the damage done. And most importantly, a binding treaty that the Empire will never again threaten humanity. "Impossible!" several counselors shouted at once. "Is it?" Marcus asked. "Let me tell you what else is impossible. It's impossible to run an empire when your workers might be saboteurs, impossible to maintain order when your subjects learn they can resist, impossible to project power when your own forces are afraid. You asked what it would take for this to end? That's your answer. The question you should be asking is, what will it cost if it doesn't?" The communication ended, leaving the council in stunned silence. In that silence, they could hear the distant sounds of explosions, alarms, and chaos spreading through their perfect capital. Xerxes broke the quiet. "You wanted my military advice? Here it is. Take the deal. Take it now, while you still have an empire to salvage. Because if you don't, if you continue this war thinking you can win through force," he shook his ancient head, "then you'll learn what every power in human history learned. Humans don't just win wars. They change the rules of war itself." Vexana looked around the council chamber at her fellow rulers. She saw fear, anger, pride, and slowly dawning realization. The Empire had ruled through strength for a millennium, but strength meant nothing against an enemy that turned weakness into a weapon, patience into power, and defeat into education. "Call for a full council vote," she said finally. "All member species, all territorial governors, all military commanders. The question before us is simple. Do we make peace with humanity, or do we test whether our empire can survive what they're teaching the galaxy?" As the council prepared for the most important vote in imperial history, Marcus Chen sat in a hidden location halfway across the galaxy. Around him, other humans monitored communications, planned operations, and coordinated with resistance cells on 1,000 worlds. "Think they'll take the deal?" asked Sarah Williams, former Earth Defense Force, now his second in command. Marcus smiled, checking his rifle's scope. "Doesn't matter. Either they take it and humanity is free, or they refuse and their empire tears itself apart. Either way, we win." "And if they refuse? If they keep coming?" Marcus's smile turned cold. "Then we keep teaching. Lesson by lesson. Victory by victory. Until there's nothing left of their empire but a cautionary tale about what happens when you threaten humanity's home." He stood, slinging his rifle over his shoulder. "Come on. We've got 3 more installations to hit before they finish voting. The Empire needs to understand that this isn't a negotiation." "What is it, then?" Marcus looked back at her, and for just a moment Sarah saw why alien empires learned to fear human soldiers. "It's a promise. They came for our world. We came for their empire. And only one of us is walking away from this intact." As they disappeared into the shadows, the Galactic Empire continued to burn, not in the flames of conquest, but in the slow, patient fire of human resistance. A fire that would only spread until it consumed everything that threatened Earth. or until the Empire finally learned the lesson Marcus Chen had been teaching from the beginning. Humans were not conquered. They were not broken. They were not defeated. They were inevitable. The vote had been called 3 months ago. 3 months of debate, argument, and escalating chaos throughout the Galactic Empire. 3 months during which the humans had not paused their campaign for even a single day. Admiral Kresh stood before what remained of the Imperial High Command, his report heavy in his hands. Once, this chamber had hosted 500 of the Empire's finest military minds. Now, barely half the seats were filled. The others were dead, missing, or had simply refused to attend, too afraid of human retaliation. "The situation," he began, his voice hollow, "has moved beyond critical. 17 sectors are in open rebellion. Not just humans. The Valarhi, the Queks, even the Dormani have joined what they're calling the Free Systems Alliance. Our supply lines are cut. Our communications are compromised. And the Ghost Brigade—" He paused, visibly gathering himself. "The Ghost Brigade has eliminated 40% of our command structure. They don't just kill. They leave messages, lists of crimes, evidence of atrocities. They're not just fighting us. They're putting us on trial in front of the entire galaxy." War Master Xerxes, who had been called from retirement to save the Empire, laughed bitterly from his seat. "I told the Council 3 months ago, make peace or lose everything. They chose to debate instead. Now look where we are. We can still win." General Mactor stood, his cybernetic arm whirring. "We have the numbers. The technology!" "Do we?" Xerxes pulled up a holographic display. "Let me show you something interesting. This is the Imperial Battlecruiser Dominance, pride of the Third Fleet. State-of-the-art weapons, impenetrable shields, crew of 30,000. The image shifted. "This is the Dominance now." The room gasped. The mighty ship was drifting in space, completely powered down, its hull painted with massive human letters spelling out, "Obsolete." 12 humans, Xerxes continued calmly. 12 humans took that ship without firing a shot. They introduced a computer virus that convinced the ship's AI that the war was over and it had lost. The AI powered down all systems and locked out the crew. 30,000 of our finest warriors defeated by a piece of code. "How?" someone whispered. "Because humans don't fight the way we expect. They find the weakness we don't know we have. The Dominance's AI was programmed to be logical. The humans gave it a logic problem it couldn't solve, and it chose the only logical response: surrender." The door to the chamber opened, and everyone reached for weapons. But it wasn't an attack. It was a messenger, young and clearly terrified. "Sirs," the messenger stammered, the vote is complete." Kresh felt his heart sink. "And? 437 member species voted to accept the human terms, 63 voted to continue fighting." The messenger swallowed hard. "The 63 have already announced they're withdrawing from the Empire to form their own alliance. They don't want to be associated with us anymore." Silence fell like a hammer. The Galactic Empire, which had stood for 1,000 years, had just voted itself into submission. "There's more," the messenger continued reluctantly. "Marcus Chen has sent a message. He says he'll meet with our representatives to discuss the details of the peace treaty. But he insists the meeting take place on Earth." "Earth?" Mactor snarled. "Go to their world? It's a trap." "Everything is a trap with humans," Xerxes said tiredly. "But this one, we walk into willingly, because the alternative is extinction." 3 days later, a small Imperial delegation landed on Earth. They expected to find a world preparing for war, bristling with defenses and weapons. Instead, they found something far more unsettling: normalcy. Humans went about their daily lives as if the greatest empire in the galaxy hadn't just surrendered to them. Children played in parks. Adults worked in offices and shops. The sky was filled not with warships, but with civilian traffic. Marcus Chen met them at the United Nations building in New York. He wasn't what they expected. No massive armor, no visible weapons, just a middle-aged man in simple clothes with eyes that had seen too much. "Welcome to Earth," he said simply. "I'm glad you chose peace." Vexana, leading the delegation, struggled to contain her emotions. "You destroyed our empire. You turned our subjects against us. You made us fear our own shadows." "No," Marcus corrected gently. "You did that yourselves. We just showed you the consequences." They sat at a table that seemed absurdly small for such a momentous occasion. Marcus poured water for everyone, a gesture that confused the alien delegates. "You're probably wondering why I insisted we meet here," he said. "It's simple. I wanted you to see what you almost destroyed. Not our weapons or our armies, but this." He gestured toward the window, where people went about their lives. "What you saw as weakness, our divided nations, our chaotic society, our stubborn independence, those are our strengths." "I don't understand," Vexana admitted. "Your empire conquered through unity. One voice, one will, one way of thinking. It made you strong but brittle. When we introduced chaos into your system, it couldn't adapt." Marcus leaned forward. "Humans thrive on chaos. We disagree, we argue, we have 1,000 different ideas about everything. And that means when one approach fails, we have 999 others to try." War Master Xerxes, who had come despite his age, nodded slowly. "The Ghost Brigade. They weren't following a central command, were they?" "Every cell was independent," Marcus confirmed. "United in purpose, but free in method. You couldn't predict us because we couldn't predict ourselves. Each group found its own way to fight, its own weaknesses to exploit. Your empire was like a great machine, precise, powerful, but vulnerable to the right wrench in the right gear." "And now?" Vexana asked. "What happens to the empire?" Marcus slid a datapad across the table. "The terms are simple. Complete withdrawal from human space and the space of any species that wants independence. Release of all slaves and prisoners. Reparations paid over the next 50 years. In return, we stop the Ghost Brigade operations and help stabilize what's left of your empire." "Help?" Maktor scoffed. "Why would you help us?" "Because," Marcus said seriously, "humans understand something you never learned. Today's enemy can be tomorrow's ally. We don't want your empire to collapse into chaos. We want it to transform into something better, something that trades instead of takes, protects instead of conquers." "And if we refuse these terms?" Marcus's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes made them all shift uncomfortably. "Then the lessons continue. But I don't think your empire would survive much more education." Over the next hours, they hammered out the details. It was surreal. The greatest military power in the galaxy negotiating its own diminishment with a species it had dismissed as primitive. But with each passing moment, the Imperial delegates began to understand something profound. They hadn't lost to human weapons or technology. They had lost to human nature itself. As the negotiations continued, Sarah Williams pulled Marcus aside. "You know they'll try to rebuild. In 50 years, 100, they'll think about attacking us again." Marcus smiled. "Let them. In 50 years, half their military will have been trained by human advisors. Their economy will depend on human trade. Their culture will have been influenced by human ideas. We're not just winning a war, Sarah. We're winning a future. And the Ghost Brigade? Oh, we're not disbanding, just transitioning. From soldiers to teachers, every human who learned to fight the Empire is going to teach others how to resist tyranny. We're going to spread throughout the galaxy, not as conquerors but as insurance. Never again will a single empire threaten peaceful worlds." The treaty was signed as the sun set over New York City. The Galactic Empire officially recognized Earth's sovereignty and agreed to all human terms. In return, humanity would cease hostilities and provide assistance in transitioning the Empire into a confederation of free worlds. As the Imperial delegation prepared to leave, Vexana turned to Marcus one last time. "I have to know. Was it true what you said at the beginning? Was our empire really doomed from the moment we attacked Earth?" Marcus considered the question. "Counselor, your empire was doomed the moment it decided fear was stronger than freedom. We just helped you learn that lesson." He paused. "Though I admit, we may have been enthusiastic teachers." "Enthusiastic," Xerxes muttered. "You turned warfare into an art form and rebellion into a science. You made the entire galaxy afraid of angry humans with improvised weapons." "Good," Marcus said simply. "Fear of humans will keep the peace far better than any treaty. Let the galaxy remember what happens when Earth's children are threatened. Let them tell stories of the Ghost Brigade and the day the Galactic Empire learned that humans don't bend." The delegation departed, leaving Marcus and Sarah standing on the roof of the UN building, watching their ship disappear into the sky. "Think it's really over?" Sarah asked. "This war? Yes, but there will be others. There always are." Marcus looked up at the stars. "But now the galaxy knows. Humans are out there, watching, waiting, ready. And if anyone threatens peace, threatens freedom, threatens our home—" He didn't finish, but Sarah understood. The Ghost Brigade would rise again. Different faces, different names, but the same indomitable human spirit that refused to bow, refused to break, refused to lose. In the years that followed, the galaxy changed. The Galactic Empire transformed into the Galactic Alliance, a democratic confederation where species worked together as equals. Human advisors helped establish defenses against future tyranny. Human traders brought not just goods, but ideas, dangerous, beautiful ideas about freedom and choice and resistance. Marcus Chen retired, officially. Unofficially, he established training camps on a dozen worlds, teaching anyone who wanted to learn the art of asymmetric warfare. "Never again," was their motto. "Never again will the strong prey on the weak unopposed." Some species called humans heroes. Others called them terrorists who had destroyed a stable order. But all agreed on one thing: the galaxy would never be the same. On the 20th anniversary of the peace treaty, a monument was unveiled on Earth. It wasn't a celebration of victory or a memorial to the fallen. It was a simple metal plate with a single message in 100 languages. Here stood humanity, faced with extinction. Here humanity said, "No." Let all who see this remember. We are the species that turns farmers into soldiers, workers into saboteurs, and prisoners into an army. We are the ones who teach the galaxy that empires fall, but the human spirit endures. Touch us in peace, and we will embrace you as family. Touch us in war, and we will teach you why we survived everything the universe threw at us. We are human. We are here, and we are watching. Below the main text, in smaller letters, was a final line that made every military leader in the galaxy pause whenever they read it. The Ghost Brigade is recruiting, because humans understood something that the Galactic Empire never had. True strength wasn't in weapons or numbers or technology. True strength was in the willingness of ordinary people to do extraordinary things when their home was threatened, and that strength, once awakened, never truly slept again. The Empire had come for Earth, expecting to find another easy conquest. Instead, they found teachers. Harsh teachers who taught through pain and loss and fear, but teachers nonetheless. And the lesson they taught would echo through the galaxy for generations. Humans don't conquer. They endure. They adapt. They overcome. And in the end, they change everything they touch. The Galactic Empire was indeed doomed from the moment they attacked Earth. They just needed a human sniper to explain why. And Marcus Chen, patient teacher that he was, had made sure they understood completely. In the vast darkness between stars, human ships now patrolled not as conquerors, but as guardians. Each one carried the legacy of the Ghost Brigade, the memory of Earth's defiance, and the promise that never again would tyranny go unchallenged. Because humans had looked at the greatest empire in galactic history and done what humans always do when faced with impossible odds. They won.